Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow event profs. My name is Tess Bisnell from iSocialX, and my partner in crime is.
You know, I got nothing. Mr. Keith Johnston with i3 Events. Someday I'll come up with something exciting, but I just don't.
It's okay. And welcome to the Event Tech Pull-Up. We are really, really excited about this next episode. I know I say excited every time, but it seems as if we have a snowball of excitement because every time it's like we almost best ourselves each time. And that's really a personal thing between the two of us. We're like, we really hope the audience likes it too, but we get extra excited, which I think is miraculous.
You know, and I'll go back to one thing Mike McCallan said, right? When we were doing the one on podcasting for associations, and Mike was like, well, yeah, I had a podcast because these are the people I really wanted to hang out with.
That was so amazing. And I was like, yeah, see, that's why we love you, Mike, because we think the same way.
Exactly.
We just like want to have fun with people and like pull out like their best selves. And then it's funny because people kind of think that we're silly too. And we work really good together.
Usually.
So we're happy and excited about that. One thing we do want to do with our podcast is keep you all engaged. So on all of the social channels, wherever you find us, always make a comment for us, right? I know that you all have been sharing it with people, but we really want you to put some comments in the box and kind of communicate with us. And we're looking on doing some new things in the future. So we're really excited about that. Again, it's the Event Tech Pull-Up, eventtechpullup.com. Make sure you use our lovely hashtag, which is pull up with us. So Keith,
Yes,
we kick off our sessions each time with a little bit of the news. So tell us what we've got. I mean, I know of a couple, but you pick one of the ones we had and say which one we want to go for first.
Well, actually, I'm going to go for the news that isn't news. And that was the one where you put a note and you're like, hey, tomorrow, let's talk about Quibi type content. And I was like, ooh, what kind of news you got, Tess? And then Tess is like, oh, that really wasn't for the news.
We're making it news because then you start popping up ideas and we're like, well, in the recesses of my mind, we realize, yes, this is really us, the news.
So Tess's idea was for us to do some Quibi type content, you know, and if for those that don't know, Quibi is the failing fast platform that allows you to view episodes of things in 10 minutes or less. And it's a really cool concept, and they kind of blew it out of the gate, I guess. But then we got to talking, and any conference or event should be producing Quibi type content, right? Little 10-minute bite-sized pieces of content that you can be delivering in the lead up to a conference or all 365 days a year to make a conference become year round.
Exactly.
Right?
You actually could do some really cool things. Like I saw a few episodes of this show, and of course I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it was very artistic and creative. And it was 5 minutes, right? And the 5 minutes, they actually did everything that a full 30-minute episode would do. You know, they led in with what it was about, nice little, sizzle, talked about who the guest is, spoke with the guest, had some breaks in between of the content, and ended with like a reveal. All in freaking 5 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, amazing. This is wonderful because I got all the junk out. We got to the nitty gritty and I can move on and I can feel like my day is great. Almost kind of like what we do with podcasts in a sense to keep them really short, sweet, to the point, but I think people's minds are digesting differently. And our guest later, who I'm excited about, is going to get into that right brain and how you're digesting content a little differently than most. So,
yeah, hey, I see how you did that.
You like that?
You looped it right back to the guest. That was pretty good. So, all right, now you've got to tell. Now, for those of you who are listening, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about at all. But for the 4 people that actually do watch this on YouTube, Tess looks like a cross between The Avengers, and something out of The Hobbit. And Tess, tell everyone why your eyes glow and why you have wings on your head. Or are those wings?
Of course, they're my fairy wings. Who doesn't know I'm fairy? Even though I call Dahlia fairy dust, I'm really truly the fairy. Right? For real, for real.
Please do explain.
Okay. I've been using it for a while, and I don't have any earthly idea. Oh, well, I do know. I was using it on my old Mac, which was 2015, and I was blessed enough to be able to get a new Mac, thank goodness, and be able to use filters in Zoom, right? Because Zoom unless your processor is fast enough, with the older machines, it just doesn't really come through well. It doesn't work well. So this is called a snap filter for your camera from Snapchat. You do not have to have, per se, a Snapchat account. Of course, we all do. We do.
I don't.
We do. We do. And we, like me and Carter, you know what I'm saying?
I know, yes.
But so you don't necessarily have to have it. It's really a download on your computer, and it filters the camera, meaning how you are seeing me now, there, that little camera there. It pretty much filters over that. So if you all look on our website, eventtechpullup.com, you will see a picture of Keith and I like that, and he's like that, with glasses on. And those are our Snap spectacles, right, that we have. And what it did was in essence, allowed us to film, take pictures, and we could do filters within Snapchat, right? So it's the same kind of concept. And people are making these filters all the time. So it's really crowd or user generated. And all you have to do, like I said, is download it, select it in your camera. So like, for instance, we're in Zoom right now. We're selected as a background, like in essence, virtual background, and pick which one you want. It comes on, and I just chose my inner self, which is a fairy, and I'm really a unicorn, a fairy that rides a unicorn or then flies. So this is her.
You're like way cooler.
I love my little bubbles.
Like Captain Marvel, like when her eyes glow, it's real. Yours are way better. Yes. So you could beat Captain Marvel. Now there's a million comic book geeks that are going to like spam us. Anyway.
Love it. Because, my inner gamer will come out, right?
There you go.
Okay. So Keith, I know we're going to do a whole show about what we've been doing, what we're up to. But last week I was able to, you have too recently been working on some virtual events. And I thought it would be great to pull up two tech equipment, if you will. So on the hardware side, that may help some of the production and make it easy and good. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be because you're producing the event, but it also could be for speakers. Like speakers could utilize a couple of these things as well. So kick off the first one for me, Keith.
Yes. Well, and you make a good point. When we talk about audio and video and software programs and things like that, the cool thing about most of the stuff that we talk about is, yes, it's great for the production side of a conference or a virtual conference or whatever, but also if you're a speaker or even if you're in sales, right? If you're a destination person who's selling a hotel to somebody, a lot of this stuff can come in handy because most of what we recommend is going to be pretty low cost stuff, right? So it's the things that can improve your online presence, I guess, or your tech presence, if you will. But the first one is Loopback, and Loopback is built for Macs, and it is, well, do you want to talk about it, Tess?
No, I love you. No,
okay.
He's more of an audio guy than me. I mean, I know of the stuff, right? I know how stuff should work, but he likes to touch it and move it and stuff.
Well, Loopback is cool because what Loopback is, it's for a Mac, and it allows you to combine different audio sources into one. It actually acts like a soundboard or a mixer so you can combine multiple audio sources into one. So basically, you could combine a Zoom and a Skype, right? You can add music to your Zoom, right? So you can have an intro and things like that. And it also does tee up the next thing that we're talking about as well. which is Elgato, and Elgato Streamback, which Elgato Streamback is a little box that goes on the right-hand side or left, or for me, it goes on the right-hand side. It goes next to your computer, but it actually does allow you to do a lot of different things. So for example, it's like having a mini production studio next to your computer. So basically, for example, using the Elgato Stream Deck, you can have 3 or 4 cameras set up, or 3 cameras set up, and switch between them. You could have an audio effect on one of the buttons. Again,
Right.
it gives you a little bit more of a more professional, slick operation. There is also the Rode Caster, which is
Yes.
by the microphone company Rode. They built it for podcasts, and that kind of does the same thing, although that one might be just audio.
Yeah, I think that one's more audio, whereas this Stream Deck is specifically for, like, the other one is like great for podcasts and you being able to control the quality, because quality of an audio is very important when you're producing a show in general. But then, as you all know, especially for producing a podcast, if you will, because that's really what people are listening to. It's just that people decided to add video to their podcast, which helps a good bit. And but still, the Stream Deck that I like about it is, as Keith said, and we alluded to, is I can make any kind of my presentations or anything I do. So think, we're virtual now, we have to do a lot of content that way. But then when we are able to come to face-to-face, then we'll be doing some more hybrid, what I call the new hybrid situations, right? And then some people can make the meeting, some people can't. Think about, it's about accessibility, right? So you could, in essence, because their price point is not very high, it's maybe slightly over 100 or so, give or take. But I'm sure if you talk to them and try to do it in mass, think about those kits a lot of event producers were doing, and AV companies were doing, to send out to their speakers. This could also be added to it if you wanted to. Or maybe it's a gift to your speakers. I don't know. It's all kinds of different things you can kind of think about keeping people great in the virtual space, or I would say the digital space.
Yeah, and one thing to note about the Stream Deck, because I think if anyone just jumped in there and Googled Elgato, and it's all one word, not Spanish for the cat. Isn't Elgato the cat? But it's all one word, Elgato. Is they build stuff, and their market is gamers, video gamers. And it is video gamers who record themselves playing games so that other gamers can watch them play the game.
Right. Think
now,
Twitch. Everyone think Twitch.
Yes. Now, some people may go, what? But let me tell you, my child is 14 years old, and he will watch other gamers play all day long. But that's where a lot of the stuff that they're creating, because again, they do it, like, there's so much crossover in what they're doing that sometimes you can find the best piece of equipment for the job in another sector. So in this, it's video gaming, right?
Absolutely.
You go and you grab that.
And definitely, it's almost that agile. He was cracking jokes with Keith and some others when we first began sheltering in space, which is like, because one of our teammates is a diehard avid gamer. That's her world. And I was like, oh my goodness, the whole world is sheltering in space. That means all of us have invaded their space, right? And not only invaded their space, that means we have to cop and steal their tech too, to be able to deliver the things we need to deliver at a high level, right? Because I have a new gaming monitor here. I've got a new gaming chair that's about to come up in a second, and we'll talk about that in another day. But still, you got to pull on the resources that are available to you.
Well, and it's funny. I always went for computers, though. Since the beginning of whenever, I've always gone for computers. I love the gaming industry and I love everything about it. I'm not a gamer. If I played Halo, I would die in the first 4 seconds. But all my computers are gaming computers. Why? Because they have the processing power to handle anything a conference can throw at it. So.
Okay,
But Tess, we got a mosey.
Yeah, we do. So Keith, I think I'm gonna save this other nugget for our next show because I want to talk about it a little bit more in detail. And guys, really, this particular news segment was really about how you can amp your presentation game virtually as well as from an audio perspective as well. So when I mentioned about digesting content, right, our next guest up for the day is Dusty from Ink Factory. We are so excited. That's really why I have my fairy halo over now. I can activate my right brain, and you can see why everyone will be able to enjoy the things that we have for you the rest of the show. So we thank you, and all of a sudden, Dusty, Dusty, let's bring on Dusty. Welcome. We are so excited to have our next guest. They are some of the most remarkable, amazing right brainers, as I call them. I have a big thing when I'm talking about technology and how it works with right brain versus left brain. And these ladies really have maximized the aspect of what it means to put your right brain on paper and share it with the world. And I hope you all get a chance to enjoy them like we do. Keith, what do you think? Is it time for me to tell them who it is, or you want to say a little bit?
Here I go.
Yeah, the burps.
This is when I totally stall. But actually, no. And I do want to say something before you introduce. In the rush to pivot to virtual, I think that everyone has forgotten a couple of things. Number one is virtual can be creative, and number two, you gotta engage your attendees, right? And that's kind of what this episode and our next episode are about. And I'll kind of leave it at that.
Okay, wonderful. So, without further ado, I would love to bring to you Dusty Fulwarski. I hope I said that right. Oh, look at this. Hi, Dusty. How are you? Let me tell them just a little bit about you, and then you can go ahead and say a little bit more and introduce our other special guest for the day. Dusty was born and raised in the Show Me State. My bestie actually lives there in St. Louis, aka Missouri, in a small town named Winfield. She earned her BFA in sculpture from Truman State University and made her way to the Windy City, my home, as well as Keith's home. And she started out as a sculptor, and she was working within the management consulting space, which I think is wonderful. So that's still left brain, right brain going. After half a decade of independent contracting, it was time for her to co-found Ink Factory with Lindsay and Ryan. Ta-da!
You did that well, Tess.
Thank you. See, scripted, I love it. So Dusty uses her people skills, big picture mindset, and entrepreneurial spirit to connect the dots at Ink Factory. Dusty has an uncanny ability to see a small needle in a large haystack. She's always generating ideas and loves to foster new partnerships. So welcome, Dusty. Tell the audience a little bit about Ink Factory and most importantly, the woman of the hour, or I should say a few minutes or so, our lovely artist extraordinaire.
Yes. Thank you so much, for that introduction. It's always funny to hear your bio read and just sit and listen. It's like, oh yeah, that's me. Thank you so much, Tess and Keith, for having me on this podcast. And I'm also super pumped to be sharing one of my colleagues, Emma's talent with everybody today. Emma Wimberly is one of our artists at Ink Factory. And Ink Factory was founded in 2011. Our mission is to create visual experiences that inspire and engage. And Keith, you already used the word engage in your opening. So I just think we're all just sinking, in what we're going to do here today. But so Emma's one of our artists, and she'll be drawing this entire podcast. So you'll be able to see a little bit about what Ink Factory can do. Our slogan is "You talk, we draw." It's awesome. And we think you're going to see some awesome today. So thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Emma, you want to say hi to the audience at least?
Yes, hello. My name is Emma. As Dusty said, I'm an artist at Ink Factory. I'll share my screen real quick to show you what I'll be doing. Let's see. But we basically just listen to conversations, meetings, and do a visual recap of everything. It's the best job ever. I'm so excited about it, and we appreciate you having us. Here is the beginning of the board. So this is sort of what we're starting out with, and then I'll put the screen up later down the conversation a little bit, and we can see the progress we've made.
Yeah, looks great.
That is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, seriously, how Keith, I'm gonna let you go because I get excited about asking our guests questions.
Yes, and well, we're gonna, and we have question one, and I'm actually gonna tweak it a little bit. And so question number one is, of course, what is the Ink Factory, and how did you come up with the idea? But I actually expound on that a little bit when you answer, and tell us how the process works at a live event. Because then that'll actually bring us really, really good into question number two. But I think that it would be really great for anyone who's listening or watching on YouTube to get an idea of what would happen if this was going on at their event.
Totally. Yeah, great question. So Tess mentioned the left brain and the right brain, and yes, Ink Factory definitely has a stronghold on our right brain. But the process of taking visual notes definitely employs both left and right brain. So we are typically at a live event, we would be up at the front of the room, adjacent to the stage or speaker, and we'd have a huge canvas, like a 40 by 60 inch or 4 feet by 8 foot canvas, where we would literally be drawing with markers and pens what the speaker is saying in real time. So typically we are listening, synthesizing, and drawing in words and pictures all at the same time. So essentially it's kind of like we're translating into the visual language is what we like to say. So it's similar to somebody who might be translating in sign language, except for we're using the visual language. So what's cool about that is you then have this great visual record that reinforces what the speaker is saying, and it helps increase data retention. It helps inspire and engage the audience in the content itself, because, to your point about tech, sometimes that's a little bit of a difficult topic for people to kind of engage in. But when you give the brain pictures, which it naturally thinks in just because of the evolutionary process, the brain can latch onto those concepts easier. And so it helps people understand on a deeper level as well. And so then you've got that physical record that then as an event, you can put wherever you like. So you could put it maybe out in the hallway near where the coffee station is, because everybody goes to the food, they all want the snacks. So you could put that up, and then as the event unfolds, you've got this great physical record of everybody's talks. And if you have multiple tracks, it's cool because of course you can't be two places at once. But if you have multiple artists in all those tracks, then you can see, the visual of the entire conference and have a really great asset that we translate to the digital world that you can share and follow up communications to promote the event next year, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a great kind of gift to the speaker too, which Tess, I know that's kind of how we found you, or you found us, because you spoke at a conference and we had the pleasure of drawing your talk.
Oh, and so following up, so the process, is it important for the artist to actually meet with the speaker beforehand? Do they have an idea of what's going to be said in the session?
No. And I know that's really strange.
No, but it's cool.
I love it. That's what makes it better.
It's magic, and that's something that a lot of people, don't quite latch onto, but really all we need to know is the title, the speaker's name, spelled correctly, and how long the talk is supposed to go. And that's typically enough. However, there are situations where it's really important that we draw, a specific sort of model or something that the speaker is going to talk to. Or sometimes we get brought into like pitch conversations, where you're pitching something and you only have 10 minutes with your audience. And so in that case, we probably would have a lot more prep and know exactly, kind of co-create with the audience or with the client, what the message they want to tell is. And then we would draw that live. So typically no, but every once in a while there is a use for, a heavy prep.
And it does translate, and this is where this isn't limited by any particular field or industry. This is actually something that I think would work. Like a lot of my clients are, some medical associations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important for them to understand that this works just as well in those atmospheres as it does maybe, let's say, if Hasbro is having a big toy convention, right?
Absolutely.
Visual translates just as well to both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great comment.
Yeah, and I also think that there are very unique ways in which you can do them, right? Because Keith and I, we travel over 40 times a year to conferences and meetings.
Not anymore.
Well, no, not anymore. Well, differently in the future, right?
Yeah.
But we've seen, it's not like we haven't seen this done at conferences.
Right.
We have. Some of our major organizations have done it. Some of the smaller associations and then some others that we actually have been our clients as well have done it. However, I haven't seen it done outside of the keynotes as often as I would love to see it. Because, right, Keith, we see it more on the keynotes. You see it as kind of telling a story, what's on that main stage. But really what happens in those smaller conversations, right? Maybe networking opportunities, what other aspects of the event I would say you actually can do it in, right, Keith? I don't think it needs to just be a main stage thing.
No, and I don't think so, because I think one thing that a lot of planners forget is that keynotes are great, but all of the meat and potatoes happens in the breakouts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, they really do. That's where the smaller audience, that's where actual education is done.
Right.
Again, keynotes, you need them. They're awesome. They're amazing. But, people are actually doing the hard work in the breakouts.
Yeah, I love that you use that word education too, Keith, because that is the science behind what we do. It really does, in terms of benefits for hiring a visual note taker, for hiring Ink Factory, data retention does go up. When you pair words with text, your brain, it makes a little bookmark and you learn better. You learn on a deeper level. And, people remember 80% of what they see, but only 10% of what they hear, so that is big, right? So we really believe that it would help so much in all the breakouts. And whenever planners do come to us and are like, oh yeah, we just want the keynotes, we just want the one keynote, and it's like, yeah, but we can do so much more. We can help you, and you're buying us for the day, so let us help you. How can we engage in the lunch hour? How can we engage in different ways? We've got all kinds of solutions, and it's always fun for us to come up with new things together too.
Well, I mean, that really is a great segue into my next question, which is, how have you translated it over to the virtual space? How are you looking at it for our new normal into the hybrid space, and those other ways in which we can kind of step outside of that linear box and say, oh my gosh, we have all this great content that's coming up. It's really truly about what are you doing and how you're pushing it differently and how you're delivering it in a way people can digest it and want to digest it. Like Keith and I talked about earlier, giving content in small bites, right? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that, Ink Factory is so fortunate to be an industry that can pivot to the virtual space, right? And can actually solve a problem of these Zoomathons that are happening, whether it's an internal meeting or, the virtual conferences. Oh, there goes my light. Turn that back on. It's on a timer. And I think something that can just help grab people's attention, because the whole work day happens on the screen now. So what can make, the virtual space feel a little bit more special when it's not just, your Monday meeting or whatever. So luckily, pre the pandemic, we work in the digital space at events and conferences. So earlier I explained the physical way that we work, but sometimes clients want us to project our work onto huge screens in multiple places throughout events. And in that case, Ink Factory physically would be in the back of the room, with the AV team, and we would be drawing on either a large Cintiq or an iPad, and then that's projected at certain moments during keynotes and presentations, etc. So using that same technology, we just can project our screen to whatever online platform the virtual conference or meeting is using. And we've been making a lot of partnerships, with some of the new platforms, and it's cool to have more of a, I love working with event planners and production companies versus just only, showing to Zoom, where you can have a production where it's like, well, here's the speaker, and I want you right now to look at their PowerPoint and really, give an experience to everyone, right? So you can choose like different pop-up windows at different moments and, engage in the chat and have a more produced experience versus everybody has to look at the same thing all the time. I like that, and I like that for participants when they can choose what they want to look at, whether it's the speaker's head, the speaker's presentation, or our visual notes, or a combo of all three. And part of the virtual experience that we're sort of working out right now is we have virtual backgrounds that we've designed. So imagine if you're at a conference, and, usually you've got that name tag that sort of says, your name, and then maybe describe something, like maybe you've got the special colored name tag if you're a speaker or if you're a sponsor or something like that. Well, in the virtual world, we don't really have that as much. So wouldn't it be cool if we all had our bios in the virtual world around us as our background? Like if you're a speaker and your event is, branded in purples and blues, well, all the purple backgrounds, those are speakers and presenters. And then other people, participants, if they know that they're looking to network about something, maybe they have a little question that's pre-drawn that we could produce ahead of time. So that's one way that you can just turn your background into something that can give more information, kind of like that name tag. Because networking is so important at conferences. And then for sponsors, they can't sponsor the cool coffee break. They can't sponsor, the nice lunch or something about the venue. And so we can really elevate their brand by putting it as maybe a header or a banner on each of the visual notes. So if the keynote is sponsored by, say, some big corporation, they can see their return on investment literally across the screen, and then we're drawing, the keynote below there. And we can kind of co-create with you and them what would make sense. And then in all the follow-up communications where everybody gets those visual notes digitally, whether it's through the platform or, a communication afterwards, the sponsor's stuff stays on that board. So they are on that visual. So they have a lasting impression.
And I think one of the things that always confounds me, I think, is the organizations that are afraid to try things like this, right? They think, I guess what I'm trying to say is it always amazes me how many organizations think they know what their attendees actually want. And then they go and they try stuff like this and they find out that this actually gets people excited, right? No one is excited to literally, and actually I can even use this podcast as a prime example. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that listen to it. But if you go on to like YouTube, for example, we don't have that many views because most people don't want to just sit and watch a talking head, right?
Exactly.
They want things to be a little different, a little more exciting. And I think, looking at your background now, so everybody go tune in on YouTube so you can see the background. It's cool, right?
Isn't that cool?
It is
that is
so
amazing.
Different.
It really is. And it makes me look, it makes me pay attention to you, right? I mean, it's amazing. Oh, I love it. And Keith, I totally agree with you. Like, it's how in the world are we going to, I'm hoping that people come out of this saying, I need to try new things, right? I need to give people, because people were so bored with whatever they were doing, they're hungry for it, right? So,
and just from a, you know, one of the worst experiences that to translate virtually are networking things, right? Totally. It's when you know, it's just, people are still kind of finding their way in how to do it. But what an interesting way, right? If you have neat backgrounds for different types of attendees, you have a built-in conversation starter, right? Yep. You know, especially, you know, if someone had to pick a background, or if somebody commissioned a background, whatever it happens to be, that's an instant conversation starter that can at least get you past that, you know, first awkward couple of minutes. Exactly. And yeah, it is so cool. And then the notes themselves that come out of the meetings, you know, it was funny because, was it PCMA Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Where the big long one on the window.
It's huge.
It was amazing, right? You go and you watch and you can see the sessions and you can visualize what you were,
and you can walk down the hall and see the story.
Yes.
Even if you didn't stop to read, you could just see the story, and you could feel a part of other aspects of the conference that you couldn't get to.
Yeah, I love that. And as the sculptor in me definitely loves the physicality, you know, of everything. But we now have the creative challenge to take that storytelling exercise to the virtual screen, right? So it's cool. It's a design challenge.
It is, and it's such a, you know, the one thing I want planners to know is this doesn't put a ton more on your plate, right? No, not at all, right? And that's one of the big things, right? Everything that we're all trying to do as planners to get more engagement usually means there's more work for the planner. Right? That, you know, you've got to get a new platform. You've got to integrate this. You've got to do this. You know, there are 10 other steps, you know, to that stack of papers that's already on your desk. You know, now you've just made it another 2 feet high. Whereas this is something that truly is, even though it's not technically tech, but it is plug and play, right? It's you just engage, they just engage you, and then you engage the audience.
Completely. And I love that you said that. I'm sorry, Tess.
No, go ahead.
Just one thing that we do hear from planners a lot, and is especially when we've worked with them for the first time, is you know, they thought maybe we were adding something to your plate, to your point, but it turns out, like, you know, after day 1 or something, if it's a 3-day conference, they're like, I don't have to worry about you. You're just doing your job. Like, you know, I don't have to come back and check on you. And they're like, thank you so much. I have way more to do. Like, this is great. Like, it's a good partnership, you know, because it's like, as soon as we know where we need to be at what things we're covering, we're a silent partner in the room.
And that's really how it should be. And I want you to talk about a little bit more from the virtual, from the hybrid perspective, right?
Yes.
So hopefully I've worked with you from the beginning. I've put your pricing into my sponsorship packages, and all that's taken care of. That's nice and great, right? But then you know what? I don't quite have enough to bring you in or bring a team of you in. And I want several sessions besides that one keynote done. Tell me, you know, how can we do that? We have some face-to-face, of course, it's going to be a hybrid. Tell me a little bit about what that could look like.
Yeah, you know, it's very scalable. However, you know, we can kind of meet you where you are. You know, if you've got the budget for the keynote and that's it, you know, that's great. We've got a price point for that. If you've got the budget for a 3-track conference, you know, we've got a price point for that. So, you know, if there is, like, you know, the hybrid experience where there's a small group that's gathering maybe in a smaller city, for example, you know, an artist definitely could join that event. But for the people at home, you know, depending on the tech at that event, if we're drawing digitally there, that could then just be projected, you know, to the virtual experience. But we can have an artist for kind of whatever you need. We've got on our team, we have 8 artists full time, and then we've got a network where we can scale. We've got artists all over the world, actually, that we can scale to meet different demands in different languages. Most of our artists are, of course, English speakers, but in the hybrid event, it's sort of just understanding what the ask is, because either we travel there or we plug in, and depending on the tech, if there's streaming capability, it's pretty simple. And then, the full Monty package would of course be, visual backgrounds or virtual backgrounds for every participant that they would have ahead of time. So it could be incorporated in the networking, sponsors would have their own special banners. Or it's like, well, actually we only have the budget for the speakers. So we're doing the speakers and the panelists, they get virtual backgrounds, participants don't, I think we can sort of just have those different line items, and then you plug and play, pick and choose what works for you. And, a lot of times we ask, just what impact what's most important? What impact do you need to really add the pizzazz for the online experience for everybody back home? So
now here we go down rabbit holes, because I'm actually thinking about my clients and things that they have coming up. So we've got one in October that is right now, it's all virtual, right? That's how it stands right now. However, as other parts of the world, it's a global thing. It's only like 200 attendees, but it's a global group. So, I mean, how cool would it be to if groups were able to come together in Australia, right? And then you had an artist that worked with that group, and then we've got a group in the UK, and then one in Asia, like I think there's a large enough group in Hong Kong. I mean, how cool would that be to then bring all of those elements together? And now here's actually a weird question. I don't know if you've ever gotten this one. I love the art, right? I think that the style that you guys use is really cool. Do you guys do other things as well? So and my question is, for example, it would be great to have an entire conference with this type of a theme. So someone could commission you guys to create the website headers and the look of an entire event, not just a session.
Yes. Yeah. So that starts to toe the line between, of course, the graphic designer and the visual note taker. And I think that, especially right now during these times, we're open to, anything. And I think that could be part of the whole virtual sort of package experience that we're putting together right now to really theme the event. And I think we're definitely open to that.
And I can see it as a partnership too, though, Keith.
Absolutely.
How we're always talking about getting butts in seats, or engaging the audience, or how we have Snowball, who will help roll everything in, right, and giving the opportunity from the influencers, right? So wouldn't it be cool that even if, let's say the main page for the conference, the graphic designer did that whole branding like normal, right? Yeah, but then for the virtual experience, then it's the storytelling. And also, what about, I'm so sorry, y'all, that's what happens in the virtual world, right?
It happens.
Yeah, there you go. So then I know, isn't that cool? So what happens when you could say, all right, here are our influencers. We're going to get their stories ahead of time, because we're seeing speakers now, right? In our world as a speaker, maybe engaging before the conference with the audience. Right?
Totally, yeah.
They weren't doing as much, but they're doing more and more of that now. Doing the visual stories with each one of them about what the session is to come, right? Or getting a couple of them to talk to each other, right? Or doing it among your sponsors, right? Having a talk, and you could visually, we could just set you up with them to talk to them, and they have a visual story about what they're going to be like at the conference. You know what I mean? So there are all kinds of nuances. I think that actually could happen from that.
Yeah. So, I love this. Yeah, I love the brainstorming.
This is one of those things, right? That it can do anything.
Yeah. Well,
it really can.
It. You talk, we draw. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah.
So all right, Emma, are we
checking in with Emma?
We need to check in with Emma a little bit because we talked about it for so long, right? And is Emma, you ready for us a little bit? Just let us know.
It's like we need like a drum roll.
It's like a reveal party, right?
It is.
Dun, da, da, da.
Ooh.
Oh
wow.
my gosh.
Lovely.
That is amazing. I love the black background. See, I'm a black background kind of girl. Like all my stuff is dark themed.
Well, what's great about the virtual.
Amazing. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's really great about the virtual is that we have a lot more flexibility to do some fun textures, to do, different colors, and to really brand it like exactly to the right colors of the event and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, and now every planner that is listening to this, notice how every single person just went, wow. Right? We saw it, and that was our initial reaction.
Right? Exactly.
Right? I had no idea what to expect. It popped up there, and instantly I was like, and now I'm like sitting here, and I keep leaning closer to my camera because I'm looking closer at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could cry.
I know.
I mean, because you thinking about this is art, right? So this is every aspect of the things I love. I love the events industry and business. I love right brain because I'm a right brain person, of course. But the tech part too, of course, because both of us are techies, right? Mm-hmm. And then just expressing and learn and seeing that what I said, that is what I said. That's what I meant. That's what I conveyed. So this is not just an artist. This is a person who actually has the ability to put what you just said on paper, but not just put it on paper, but put it on paper in a timely manner and be accurate.
And I love the fact that I am watching her work.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. She's added excitement.
Yes, that is.
We say that people are drawn to this. That's our pun, but it's true. It's like people are just really drawn to watching people draw. It's very, very cool.
It makes us all realize the talent we don't have.
Oh, no. You have very, very many talents.
However, drawing is not one of them.
That is okay, but
enjoying the art is mine as well. This is perfect. I mean, I want everyone to notice, you've got space on here for not just telling the story of what we just said, but then also she said the branding piece. So just, paying attention to that. The name of the actual session or our particular podcast is here, and all of the elements are put through here. So this is great.
Yeah. And Tess, you mentioned something about, I think the importance of being heard and understood when you were talking about this. And I think that's something that's really important for the argument to have us in breakouts, because oftentimes that's where you're workshopping, that's where you're brainstorming, that's where the education's happening. You might be planning for the future, and that's where when people feel heard and they see that their things end up on the board, it's like, okay, this association is taking me seriously. I appreciate this. It's like an engagement thing that takes it to an emotional connection, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, we met, we did this thing, we learned about the new XYZ, but seeing your thoughts translated onto a board that everybody can see, I think there's something really special there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I can think of some other things now that you said it that way. Like, for instance, you're always trying to move through tough situations, right? Mm-hmm. And how are you moving through them? I'm a part of a group of people called, we call ourselves the Hotties, right? With Hot Doc Mazo.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
right.
Do.
And I'm definitely a hottie, diehard hottie. And what they do to bring groups together to solve problems, issues, mm-hmm. right? But this would be something added, like whenever you need to move an issue forward, talk about it and have people express themselves. It's not just a conference. Why can't you sit in on some of those board meetings or committee meetings or some things like that to
Definitely.
bring some stuff, or where there are tough situations that you need to.
Yeah. Like change management issues. If people are, there's a lot of tough conversations about headcount right now.
Yeah.
But like getting everybody's opinions on the same board is really, it shows that, people care about your opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
It is cool.
So our final question of the day, Keith, is...
And it's a twofer.
Is it twofer?
Wait, you asking or am I asking?
Well, okay, let's see. You ask first part and I'll ask the second, but we'll do it together and then she can expound.
So the first part of this question is in all of the events where you have done this, what is the best experience that not only you've had, but the attendees have had? And
then on my end, it's going to be, then what are the worst experiences? And I really want to I also want to throw in a monkey wrench on you.
Great.
With the planner.
With the planner. All right.
Because if I know as a planner listening to this, I might not need to engage that way, or I might need to do it a little differently. That is more helpful than, oh yeah, that was a nice idea. But we want to get that other little twist.
Yes. Great question. I've been doing this since 2006. All over the world, and I've had a lot of experiences. I think with the monkey wrench in mind, I'm going to start with the worst. And I think when planners really have their heart set on us doing this outside, in all different climates, with the elements of wind, rain, unpredictable storms, etc., birds dropping on us, that is something that sometimes is just we can't overcome the wind. I'll tell you about a time where we were doing kind of an installation outside on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago, so public's all around, and we installed a very large question mark. And the wind took that question mark and turned it into a sail. And that was, a scary time. Nobody was hurt or anything like that, but it was just very nerve-wracking because, the boards are like sails in the physical world. So in the virtual world, we don't have those kinds of problems, but also, our artists have gotten sunburned from being outside, or, pouring down rain, markers aren't all waterproof. You can just imagine those kinds of things that could happen. But having said that, they lead to fun stories, right? And things that you learn about.
Yes, those actually make the best stories.
Yeah. See, that's where policies come from, right? And then I think the worst experience that happens to me and all my artists on a consistent basis are people coming up to us and asking us where the bathroom is. And because they think that we're not drawing or something. And then also they tap on our shoulders while we're literally drawing and say, "Did you draw that?" And it's like, well, yeah, that's me with the marker in my hand. So it's fascinating sometimes when people, it's like they see it happening, but it's like an interesting kind of a question for us to get a lot. A best experience for me, I think, kind of goes back to what Keith was saying about not having the skill of drawing, which this is kind of an odd way to get to that. But I think one of my best experiences is anytime that I teach a workshop, because we do teach workshops. So you could incorporate like a team building workshop within an event, like how to think better visually, for example, and people could choose to go to that. And when we do that, we demystify drawing. So seeing like the genesis of someone's mind, where they all of a sudden just drew a butterfly or, something that they didn't think that they could draw through our exercises, to me, I think is really cool, because it's like you're connecting with the person and adding to their toolkit and kind of giving them a self-esteem boost all at once.
That is way cool. And I'm still watching Emma work.
Right? It's cool. It's awesome.
She is absolutely, like, literally amazing. So Keith, do you have any other questions of our ladies? Dusty, I would like you to have like a closing statement, of course. And I always like to give shine to the art and the artist. So Emma, I'm going to definitely make you come off of mute and say something as well. So if you say something first, let Dusty close us off. But I always have to ask Keith, because he keeps me on track. Are we missing anything?
No, Tess, I think we actually, Dusty, when you started talking about that you do workshops, that's a whole nother episode.
All right, great. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'd love to do that, because I'd love to talk about tricking some things out differently, and kind of how, maybe we bring a couple planners on, right? To kind of work through some things that may be difficult, like maybe some difficult aspects of things, like maybe do a problem solving, like, or something.
Sure. Online brainstorm or something. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, got it, Keith. Online brainstorming on event tech, like one event tech challenge that they have had. And we can bring on like 3 planners, Dusty and Emma, and then we can like all go for it. And people can see the evolution of coming to some sort of resolve.
People can watch a workshop in progress.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. Oh my God.
And we do it. We record it, of course, but we do it live on Facebook.
Oh, stars. So Dusty and Emma, so do you all have the little signs that y'all creating for us that you're gonna send us and we can use like in our stuff?
Yes, we'll send you some virtual backgrounds.
Thank you. That we'd be excited. Make sure we have our little Ink Factory logo down there too.
Yeah.
That little event tech pull-up, we could do that. And I love the signs. We need to get some signs, Keith.
They are cool.
Maybe that could be our workshop. Make your own signs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one thing that everyone forgets about in-person events, but especially virtual, is they forget the fun.
Yeah, it's the fun part of it all, and you got to have it in your arsenal. I just can't draw to make it.
Even if you are having a conference about baking soda, right? Yeah. You have to inject some fun, or people are going to tune out.
It's true.
Completely tune out. Like I'm tuning out there, but then I'm tuning back in. I'm just kidding. So Emma, do you want to share anything with us? Last parting words, just at least from the artist's perspective, and then we'll go to Dusty.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, I feel so lucky to have this job because I get to listen to all these, it's cross industries, so I get to listen to all this different content and meet great people. So I really feel lucky to be able to draw for a living and constantly absorbing content. We really appreciate you guys having us on. This has been a great experience so far.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for being here and sharing your gifts with us. And Dusty, do you want to say anything for our audience?
Yeah. Thank you, Emma, for that comment. And, one of my greatest joys as a co-founder of Ink Factory is getting to find new talent like Emma. So she's coming up on her 3rd year anniversary soon. And nice. I love being able to give artists a career that they feel good about. And it's really fun. Thank you. But also, I love, Ink Factory's mission and vision. And it's, close to home because it's like we're helping people solve problems. And, Ink Factory really wants to be your visual communications partner, whether it's, the live events like we've talked about so much today, or if we're co-creating with you on our illustration or video offerings to help you tell your story in sales tools, or, as a nonprofit, you just need to get your story out there so people want to donate to you. We would love to elevate your message using our visual language. And we're always up for a challenge. So, please bring them our way, and we're happy to design something awesome with you. So thank you so much for having us today. And it sounds like we'll be doing some more fun things together soon.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies, so much.